Cherry Hill Apartments. This is a 125 unit multifamily property. Like most multifamily properties, this one's got quite the story. What happened here is the existing owners purchased this property about 4 years ago. They're not your typical value add investors. You know, they didn't come in and spend a lot on CapEx and deferred maintenance. In the beginning of this year, they decided that they were gonna go ahead and add some value to this property, and they got recapitalized and brought in some funds. They first started with the concrete, and their contractor ended up cutting one of their main service power lines, and that took out the power to half the property. When that happened, they brought in a generator to power up that side of the property. Generator actually ended up causing a fire in one of the buildings, and that was in January. In February, in Texas, we had this major freeze that broke water lines in several properties, and with this one only having power on half the property, it got destroyed. Eventually, the property became 100% vacant as it sits right now. We came in, saw an opportunity to bring our construction company and our experience to take on a property like this. It's got quite a bit of deferred maintenance and also do some cosmetic upgrades to it. And that's what I'm gonna go through and show you what we found during our due diligence and what we plan on doing. When performing due diligence on a multifamily property, we wanna look at the deferred maintenance and also the cosmetic upgrades. So the deferred maintenance is gonna be things like your roofs, your HVACs, water heaters, concrete, things that have not been kept up with. So we want to go in and inspect all of those real thorough and know what it's gonna cost to bring them back up to where they should be. And at the same time, we look at all the cosmetic upgrades that we want to do. The paint throughout, any interior units we're going to upgrade, any amenities we're going to add, those kind of things that bring the value to the property. One of the first things we look at is signage. We think that's very, very important when it comes to a multifamily property, especially one like this that at this point it's going to have a pretty bad reputation. We want to come in and do a complete rebrand, change the name, and kind of let everybody know that, hey, this has got new ownership and we're making changes. So here we are on the exteriors. I'm going to take you through some of the things that we found during our due diligence and some of the items that we know we need to repair or replace. You know, right here, you can easily tell that the mansard roof and the wood shingles that are on here are in really bad shape. So we're going to have to replace most of these. They did start to replace the first 3 buildings, has asphalt shingles on there. Needs a little bit of work. Some of the shingles have slipped, which is very common for a mansard roof. It's a very high pitch. But we will remove all the wood shingles, go back with asphalt shingles. And then on the flat roofs, we did some research and it looks like they're about 5 years old. They're in decent shape. They just need some touch-ups throughout. And then the next thing, once we come down from the roof, you know, the siding, you can see right here, it's pretty rotted. We went through and we took counts, linear feet and square footage of all the siding that needs to be replaced. On the front 3 buildings, we're gonna go ahead and replace all the siding so that it matches. You've got some different texture throughout. You can see here, this is just a basic wood sheet. And then some of the other things for deferred maintenance, you can see, you know, right here you have a piece of siding missing. The catwalks are possibly leaking some, so we're gonna fix all that flashing, make sure that they're not leaking and causing wood rot like they are here. We're also gonna wrap, so this is more of a cosmetic upgrade, we're gonna wrap all the handrails with cedar, and that's gonna give it a real nice pop cosmetically. And then in this area right here, we're actually gonna add decks and create a front porch. Most of the units have a nice front porch, like you can see here. So we're gonna add it onto these units as well. And then same thing, you know, wrap it with the cedar in the front. We're gonna do horizontal, so it's gonna look nice and modern. Let me take you over here, and I can show you what started the issue with this property. So they began saw cutting, and these are large power lines. And they should be at least 18 inches under the ground. And you can see here, they were right under the concrete. So as soon as the contractor came and started saw cutting this, caused a huge spark, I'm sure, and cut all the power off to the buildings on that side. So like I spoke about before, the plumbing was a huge issue here after the freeze. they had a lot of breaks. So what they did is they came back in and they installed shutoffs for each building, which we suggest. We've done that at all our properties. And going into new due diligence, we usually suggest that if it doesn't have it already. At the same time, we're looking at electrical. This outdated fixture, we're gonna replace all the fixtures with LED lights. So we've gone through and made that count of how many we need. At the same time, there's electrical work, which I spoke about, that we need to make sure we correct everything that the city needs. There's still some items pending there. We've met with the city and all their inspectors and know exactly what they want. So we've got hard costs on that as well. And then drainage and gutters. So as you can see, you're missing a lot of downspouts throughout the property and missing gutters throughout the property as well. The property called Story Hill. It's kind of very hill-like throughout, and what that does is it causes issues with drainage. So we've got a lot of areas where the water's kind of just dropping and staying. So in those areas, we need to make sure to add some drainage and get the water away from the property foundation. At the same time, we've gone through and we've taken levels in every single building to know exactly what we need for foundation. This is a pier and beam, which is a little different from multifamily. Usually it's a concrete slab, but one pro about pier and beam is it's a lot easier to fix. And this property having some plumbing and chiller issues, it makes it a lot easier to fix those areas as well. So we've gone through and we've gotten hard cost for fixing the foundation. And I mentioned the chillers, so the chillers was also an issue. When the freeze came, we had a lot of breaks in the water lines, but also in the chiller lines. So it's a closed loop system. We've actually got the crew here now. It's one of the things that we're finalizing on the last days of due diligence, and they're checking all the systems, and we will know exactly what it's going to take to get that back up. We've also got an alternative where we're possibly going to add mini splits to all the units and just completely bypass the chiller, but we'll have those two options to look at. Okay, so one thing that's very important for a multifamily property is the amenities, especially nowadays, even after COVID. It's put even more stress on having good amenities at your property. Right now, we're at the pool. It's a nice big pool, but as you can see, it needs quite a bit of work. The first time we walked it, it was filled, real nice and green, and there was a couple ducks swimming in it. So since then it's been drained, and we've had our pool crew come out and take a look at it. We know exactly what it's going to need equipment wise, as well as it's going to have to be replastered, redo the tile, and we'll also add some real nice pool furniture, and we may even do a spray pool deck and really make it pop. This also backs into the laundry room, which needs some renovating, just new flooring, paint, and just kind of upgrade it cosmetically. And then over here we've got a field that actually used to be another building. This was a while ago, and that actually burnt down. So our plan is to create some amenities here. It's wide open. We're thinking a playground, and then possibly a pergola and some other grills and sitting areas. And that's about it for amenities. That we think that, you know, with this being a 125 unit multifamily property, that'll be more than enough, and it'll be good for the residents. One of the big ticket items at this property is concrete, and that goes with the walkways and also the retaining walls. As you can see, this one has failed and is struggling. So we've got the hard cost to come in and fix areas like this and areas like this that are cracked. So a lot of the walkways, as well as the parking lots, all need some concrete work. Now we're inside the fire damage unit. So I spoke about when they hooked up the generator, trying to get these this side of the property back online. What that did is it caused a surge in the power and ended up causing a fire inside of this unit. As you can see, it's in pretty bad shape. I mean, I've seen a lot worse when it comes to a fire. It seems like they were able to contain it for the most part inside this unit. So overall, I mean, there is some charred frame members that are gonna have to be replaced. Obviously, the finish out, you know, the cabinets, the countertops, all that has gotta go, and some drywall work, but other than that, it's not in horrible shape. And when it comes to overall the interior units, as we walked every single one of them, we do a unit by unit inspection, and we use a software where we contain all the pictures, and there's a checklist in there so that everybody that's inspecting it looks at the same exact items. We've got all that documented, so we know exactly what every single unit needs to get it up to the upgraded units that we want to deliver. So that's the full overview on our due diligence inspection at this property. I hope you enjoyed our findings on what we saw as far as deferred maintenance and what needed to be repaired or replaced, as well as the cosmetic upgrades that ownership plans to do to this property. Personally, I think there's a ton of value to be added here. This is in the heart of DFW in Irving, Texas. That's a wrap. That's the story on Story Hill Apartments.